I heard right before Facebook was going public, I went to something and was Frank Quattrone was speaking, and he was referring to LinkedIn as the John the Baptist for Facebook's IPO, which I guess makes them Jesus. And was saying that
I'm at a loss in the metaphors, but that's okay.
John the Baptist came before Jesus.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay. Part one, part two, fine, okay.
So, and it was, not quite as great as Jesus.
Yes.
He was Jesus light. Yes. He was pre-Jesus light. So he was saying that, LinkedIn was the John the Baptist, had held up pretty well, and that was really going to, portend Facebook doing well, which, clearly didn't happen. We talked about the others. What was your read on the Facebook IPO as that was playing out?
Well, obviously it was very difficult to navigate the Facebook IPO. They had unprecedented retail demand. They had dentists calling their brokers saying, "Get me some IPO shares," etc. It's very hard to call what all that means. They also, decided that they could increase the offering, lower guidance, part of what you're doing when you're going into an IPO, you're trying to maintain as much positive momentum as you can. It's a belief in the future.
Right.
So they started doing things that are applying the brakes before you got to the starting gate on the IPO. And that's classically is a sin, but it's like, well, maybe there's so much demand for this, it won't be a problem. You'll sail through this thing that you should normally not do as part of this process. And then you compound that to NASDAQ, debacle, right?
Yeah.
Because, part of what happens is people who hold stocks don't like uncertainty and don't like knowing what's going on. And they'd rather have a known, oh, I'll just trade out, right? Then all of a sudden that creates a whole bunch of selling, trading pressure, which creates a general kind of sphere of disbelief and so forth. Now, so that's I think, kind of how to look at kind of the stormy weather and the problems. What I found kind of stunning in the conversation is people not focusing on, okay, you've got 8 years in a $40 billion company with, 1 billion people across the globe and prospects for how you build really interesting businesses, which is still fundamentally the way that I look at this. Now, exactly and I say this about LinkedIn, I say this about every company that I'm an investor in, is I don't purport to be an expert saying, well, the price should be Y, the price should be X. That's what a public market's for. What I focus on is what the future of the kind of product you can create is, what kind of difference you can make in the world, how many hundreds of millions of people's lives can you improve in some sort of substantive way. And so I'm still very bullish on that, right, as a function. And so all of it's a busted IPO and blah, 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 kind of headlines. I'm like, okay, I think they built an amazing company, right? I think there's amazing things still happening. And I fundamentally look at all of these things as a minimum 3-year horizon, preferably 3 to 5 year horizons. One of the reasons I like private investing, because that's the time horizon you're in. I've maybe bought 3 public stocks in my life, and that was when I was at PayPal, right? Because I was kind of experimenting with it. Because it's like I like long-term, what's the structural thing that you're doing in terms of changing things? And I guess maybe my portfolio manager buys public stocks, but I wouldn't know which public stocks I'm holding. Right. Other than the ones that I personally invest in as a private company. Companies I invested in as a private company, I'm aware of. But and so, anyway, so that's kind of a set of reflections on the Facebook.
Right. Did it make you relieved you guys went with the New York Stock Exchange? That's a pretty egregious fuck up on NASDAQ's part.
It's an egregious fuck up. And I don't really know how it played out that way and why they didn't know that it was going to be a serious problem and that sort of thing. And that was a screw up. We wouldn't have had that kind of, we wouldn't have broken NASDAQ the same way that the massive demand on Facebook did. We went with NYSE because we felt it fit with our professional brand and the fact that they felt that they understood what we were trying to do in the world better. And so we were very happy, NYSE, New York Stock Exchange folks. And frankly, in a large part, I think good companies can choose either of them.